Lock your doors and your windows when the sea gives up its dead. Beware the Draga,
for its rage will not be fed.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing a spoiler-free review of a movie that's in theaters now and coming to VOD called The Damned. And I'll be damned I didn't get this thing out sooner. Sorry. I'm here now. I'm going to tell you all about it. It's a folk horror, Icelandic folk horror film. A lot of people who are Robert Eggers fans have been very excited about this one. Some have been displeased, some have been happy. It is a mixed bag of emotions. This is a film that is a 19th century film about a group of fishermen who are out in the middle of nowhere on the coast somewhere doing their fishing, and a widow whose husband was the leader of this fisherman group has passed on because of a crash of their ship, and she now leads a team of fishermen in the coldest climate you can possibly imagine. These are survival times, and while they're going out to collect some more fish one morning, they see a ship off in the distance that has crash landed against the rocks. But it's essentially too late for them to get them, and if they do get them and there is any survivors, they may not have enough food to survive. It's not been a good fishing season. They have to decide whether or not they're going to save these people and choose not to. And this is the crux of their entire damnation. This is by director Þórður Pálsson, who did the Valhalla Murders TV series, which had about 8 episodes that they did in it. And this actually premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival in 2024 and is now being brought to theaters on January 3rd. It might still be in theaters near you, so you might want to check your listings, but it will be coming to VOD on January 21st. But this is an Icelandic folklore that stems from like a Norse mythology where dragors are present, and they are seafaring dragors, which are basically these animated corpses that are, there's many different styles of dragors and many different ways to say their name, by the way. But in this movie, they call them dragors. But a ton of misfortune happens to this group, and these people are thrust into, is it humans or is it supernatural? Something that Eggers plays around with in a lot of his films, and kind of rides that line of reality to kind of give you a little bit of both, but not too much to kind of push it overboard. The director considers this a psychological genre film, and I would definitely agree. They definitely seem to lean on that human sort of realistic vibe while still playing around with the genre part of the film, and I think it does a pretty decent job early on. Like, I was really into this film in the very beginning of it because I just like the idea of something coming back for you for misdeeds. Snowing out, it's in the middle of the winter. These are really dangerous tides to be in, but they'd have to do their fishing in some of these areas to get the fish, and they're in a cabin for, long periods of time. The setting, the mood, the visuals, the camera work, the acting is all pretty decent here. It's nothing phenomenal. Like, the cinematography was good, but it wasn't something that overdone. It just feels like a good story to really sink your teeth in, folk horror wise. Now, I've already heard from some of my friends who did get to see this early, and they were saying that they were not very fond of it, and they are big Eggers fans, but I actually kind of enjoyed it for the most part. I still think it's worth a watch, but a lot of people might get dismayed by the end of the film, which does wrap up in a different way than maybe you might expect. I think there's a lot of people that have gone into this movie with a lot of expectations, and really you're just kind of going in for what I would assume to be just a folk horror tale that is dealing with the sea and all of the things that come with it, including survival, people trying to cheer each other up with song and dance, and it's just a kind of a little slice of folk horror taken out of the sea and dropped into this movie And I think it's kind of interesting to tell that tale because there's not that many, seafaring ghost story tales like this done in that sort of realistic way that a lot of folk horror really kind of leans on. Is kind of an interesting way to tell that tale, with the acting being fairly decent and, well above average. It isn't, leaning into Robert Edgar's territory, but it is notable, and I think that it does kind of paint the sort of periodic time that this is going on, the 19th century. There was some unsettling parts in the movie. There are some things that happen that make you question reality. There are some moments of gore and blood and violence in the movie, but it isn't, chock full of it. There's just a lot of really darker kind of themes going on in this film that some people might really latch on to. And a lot of people are saying, that they love the beginning, and I really did love the beginning and was kind of hoping for something a lot more than I got. Not as satiated by the end of the movie, but I also see why it does what it does. I think some people are going to like this film, and I think you should at least check it out if you get a chance. If you're on the fence, watch it at least when it comes out to streaming or something like that. I would probably give this something like a 6.5 or 7 out of 10. But if you're looking for like an all-out creatures, monsters, and ghosts everywhere, this is not going to be that story. This is much more based, in reality and kind of like riding that line like a lot of these films these days do. I think it's kind of an interesting way to tell a story, but I also see other people's point of wanting more. Sometimes if you go too much, it's like way too schlocky and it kind of loses the like authenticity of that like real period time vibe. So I totally understand that, but in the same regard, it's also like there is a balance and you really want to have a little bit of both. And I think this could have done a little bit more. I still think it's well done and, good enough that I enjoyed my time watching it. I wouldn't say that this is a movie that you need to rush out to the theater for. This is going to be for a specific crowd that likes that kind of specific period time and like sort of vibe. It's definitely a slow burn, but there are things that happen in it that were, the movie carries a decent pace in the movie, and it also carries a really decent vibe in it, but it just doesn't land everything by the finale, even if it does things very well. But yeah, I would love to hear what you guys think. Have you been eyeing The Damned, or have you actually gone to see The Damned in the theater already and you're watching this now? I would love to hear from you in the comment section down below. Either way, we got a lot more on the way for you guys. If you enjoyed this video and you want to know more horror films that you may not be able to hear from other people, stick around. We got a lot more coming. But thanks for coming by. And as always, long live the void.